President and CEO of Junior Achievement. I've been here a few times and seen most of your faces before, so welcome to Wednesday night at the museum. And every week as a student in JA, you have a chance to work with your business mentors, the JA volunteer program staff, some of the sponsors of your companies who believe in what you're doing here as part of the company program. But there are lots of other business owners and leaders out there who believe in the work that JA does, who believe that it's very important that you're spending your time here in the JA company program. And we actually have one of those business leaders here with us this evening. So Joerg Stieber is the chair of the board for Ontario Drive and Gear, also known as ODG. They're not far from here, just 50 minutes away in New Hamburg. And they've been around for over 50 years. And you probably already know that a company doesn't stay in business for 50 years by standing still. They have to innovate, they have to improve, and they have to grow. And that's exactly what ODG has done over those years. So I met Joerg last spring, and he spoke about his passion for aviation, for his company, of course, and also for space flight. And also, he's a very successful competitive glider pilot, sailplane pilot, so great stories there as well. He's competed and represented Canada a couple of times in the World Championships, so just great stories. And then when he started talking about putting his product on the moon, I thought, okay, this is a guy that the company program students just have to meet. And so he has agreed to speak with you this evening and share his story. And so I introduce to you a recent inductee into the Waterloo Region Entrepreneur Hall of Fame, Mr. Joerg Stieber.
Thanks so much, Aubrey, and good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. The cause of junior achievement has always been dear to my heart because I feel Canada needs more entrepreneurs, and many of you will be the future entrepreneurs of this country, and that's what the country needs. I want to talk to you today about a few things. I want to present, of course, my company because there's good lessons in it. Plus, we're doing all sorts of cool stuff. Thank you. Then I'd also like to sort of talk to you about job prospects and all these things in the future. Right? Just by show of hand, of who is worried about finding a job after graduation? A lot of you. Okay, so I can give you a couple pointers there because we have a real problem I see in Canada. We have high youth unemployment, but on the one hand, but on the other hand, we also cannot find the right people, for example, in our company, right, with the right skills. So there's a bit of a mismatch, and it goes right down to the level where you are at in school, where you decide, will I drop math, or will I not drop math, and all these things. But we'll talk about those later. I'd like to start now with the company, Ontario Drive and Gear. We are best known for one of our products called the Argo. Show of hands, who has ever heard about an Argo? Not about the movie, but about the Argo, the vehicle. I see a few hands coming up, but not very many. So I got to talk to our marketing guy about that. The Argo is a cool vehicle, actually. It's a vehicle that drives on land. It goes into the water, it goes over the snow, and all sorts of interesting things. So I'd like to show you a few pictures of that. There we go. I guess I did something wrong. Oops. There he's back. I'll try the red button again. Oh, that's the laser, eh? Over there. There we go. Okay, I guess I'm a non-tech guy. Okay, to just give you a background of our company, we are located out in New Hamburg. We have a productive space of 121,000 square feet. We are organized in 3 divisions. A vehicle division that makes the Argo, the product I just talked about. A gear division, which is it's not really all that interesting in terms of, wow, look at this. But it's a beautiful, steady business, and the gear business is very sophisticated. If you look at the gear, high precision is the key there to make a good gear. And as of late, a few years ago, we also have a space division now. So we make space vehicles, lunar rovers, so vehicles that can run around on the moon one day and find water. They drill holes into the ground, find water there, because it's really important to know. We already know there's water on the moon, but we don't know yet how much and how widespread. And if you want to go to other planets, people say, well, why would we go to the moon? We were there, I don't know, 50 years ago or so. But if you want to go to other planets, the moon is the staging ground. From there we go, and the fuels we need are better taken from the moon than from Earth, because it's awfully hard to get anything from Earth up into space. I was privileged enough to see, to be there at when one of the last space shuttles went up in space. And it's just amazing, but it also shows you how much energy is really needed to get what essentially is a little thing up in space. And if you want to get it all the way to Mars, you just can't build a big enough rocket to do this from here. Okay, but this a little later. I'm digressing. We have 230 employees, and Argos are sold in over 50 countries. So pretty much all around the world. The market is pretty thin. Therefore, it needs to be really spread out. So we are selling, obviously we're selling in the US, but every Canadian company sells in the US. We're selling a lot overseas. Our biggest overseas market is Russia, by the way. Who's from Russia? Is anybody here from Russia? Uh-huh. See a couple hands go up. Now we guess something. With my accent, where do you think I'm from? Say it out loud. No, I'm not from Russia. I'm from Germany. I came to Canada in 1983. So it was a good move. I really thought it was a good thing to do. Before, when I lived in Germany, I was actually, my background is engineering, and I was in aircraft building, aircraft design, and that kind of stuff. The values, the core values in our company are honesty, very important. So we never lie to each other. We're respecting each other, very important. We're committed to our jobs. We want to do an excellent job, and do excellence, also very important. That's pretty easy to remember for anybody who works for us, right? We don't have, I once heard that Toyota doesn't have job descriptions, because everybody has the same job description, make a good car. And in our company, it's similar, make a good Argo or make a good gear. By history, our company, as you heard, is 50 years old, so it was started in 1962. I was only an 11-year-old at the time. And my father actually came to Canada. These were difficult times internationally and politically. There was a thing like the Iron Curtain that went through Europe, and the Soviet Union was really threatening the rest of Europe, and we were close to nuclear wars. There was the Cuban Missile Crisis and so on. And the Berlin Wall was built, which is basically part of the Iron Curtain. So my father, having run a quite successful business in Germany, decided, well, maybe, just maybe, it's not so good or it would be good to have a foot down somewhere else, not so good to invest always into Germany again. And so he thought Canada is a neat country, guys, far away, nice trees, water, all the good things, lots of natural resources. I go there. And he came here, typically in German fashion, bought a property. That's always what Germans do, really, what Germans did then. Built a building, decided, well, got to do something with it now, and said, well, we're making gears at home in Munich, so we'll make gears here too. And that he wouldn't forget where the company was and what it made. We called it Ontario Driving Gear. So this is how it all came about. So he knew where it was in Ontario, and he knew what it made. Initially we started with gears, and then 5 years later we made a transmission for manufacture of these kinds of vehicles, and they went under, and we were left holding the bag in terms of we had lots of transmissions on the ground. So this is how the first Argo was born. So this is a little machine. Back then it was made out of fiberglass, powered by a little two-cycle engine, and it had 6-wheel drives, and 6 wheels, all wheels were driving. It was basically a little bathtub with wheels. And, but it was the first Argo. So the Argo now is 45 or 46 years old in this year now. That's our location out in New Hamburg. We have 2 plants. This is where we build the Argos. This is Highway 7 out to Stratford. Stratford is this direction. And this is our gear plant where we make gears, transmissions, etc. Then we have a test hill back here where we can test our vehicles. This is what I call the world of Argo. These are all the countries we are selling Argos into. Did I say earlier our biggest overseas market is Russia? Yeah, I think I did that. So we're selling Argos in Russia, in Australia, in China. Not all that many in China, but we do that. And all the red countries are where we sell Argos. The white ones are the countries we haven't touched yet, and the blue ones are the ones we're working on. As I said, we have 3 divisions. One of our divisions is the gear division. It's making, it's doing very precise things, and it's making gears, transmissions, and it's not only making it. People, they also design it. They design the gears and they design the transmissions. This is, we had expanded the plant the last expansion was in 2008. Typically just when the recession hit. Every time we expand, we have a recession, so you should take note of this. So we expanded the plant, and this is how it looked like before we moved in. The reason why I like this photo is, and I'll come back to this later, people always think manufacturing is this dirty business and it's grimy, and so not in our plant. Modern plants are neither dirty nor grimy nor dangerous. They're clean and they have very efficient machineries. Each one of those machines, these big blue ones there, they're about $800,000, fully automated, and you basically need a college degree to run them. And they're quite sophisticated. They're called CNC machining centers. So you stick a block of metal in and out comes a transmission housing after a little while. Okay, these are gear machines, so they cut gears. They got the expensive name up there, made in Germany. So typically our lathes, our turning machines, we buy in Korea. Our CNC machining centers we buy in Japan, and the gear machines we buy in Germany, because there is really the precision really counts. And anybody who's ever looked at the price tag of a Mercedes knows that stuff made in Germany is pretty expensive. It's good, but expensive. And so each of these machines is about $750,000 just to make gears. And again, the guys who do it obviously got to be pretty smart to run those machines. They got to know math and all these things, so you can't just hire somebody from the street to say, okay, run this machine, it's worth $750,000 and don't crash it, right? So the requirements to work in a productive environment today, or in a production environment today, are much different from what it used to be, let's say, 40 years ago. Another shot sort of on our plant floor, the machines. One of the things we do is we grind gears. We're pretty unique with that technology in Canada, and this really makes the high precision. And the products our gears go in are typically our forklift trucks like this, Raymond. They go into large logging machines. We make a whole transmission for this baby there. It's the biggest transmission we make. They go also into military equipment. We make the drive shafts of these guys. They're called light armored vehicles. We make transmissions for these road graders. They used to be built in Godrich, unfortunately shut down there, so now they're built in, first they were built in Brazil, and now they moved, fortunately, back into North America, at least, to Pennsylvania. We also make little gears that sort of position satellite antennas on TV vans and that kind of stuff. So we are ranging from pretty big stuff to very small high precision stuff. We're certified ISO 9000, of course, but we also certified ISO 14000, which is the environmental certification. So we have always tried, and we've always focused on being ahead of even the law on the environmental side. Myself being from Germany, I know how it is there and what the requirements are there. So I always sort of tried to be, I knew what was coming down the pipe in terms of legislation, so I always tried to stay 5 years ahead of that. And I think we're still 5 years ahead of it, so we've always been a very green manufacturer. And we're one of only 106 certified suppliers to Volvo. And what this is, Volvo machinery, they make the big graders and excavators and so on, not Volvo cars. Volvo cars has been sold for a couple of years ago, first to Ford, and now to a Chinese company. Certificates. So this is, we're getting more into the cool stuff now. This is the Argo side. And Argos range from little six-wheelers that are great to have at the cottage and take out fishing and all these things. And keep in mind, all these vehicles float. They all float in water. To the bigger ones, they're great for hunters. I hunt moose. It's fun actually, and it's very tasty too. And then these machines are big for industrial purposes, like Ontario Hydro, where they have to string lines through swamps and over lakes and that kind of stuff. That's what they use. It's a sort of a shutdown or assembly line. As you can see, again, it's pretty clean, right? It's sort of an overhead shot that shows the Argo assembly line running down this way, all fairly organized. Again, fairly clean and organized environment. And not all that many people, because our people are very efficient, so they can do a lot of things. This is what the Argos are being used for. You see it's a typical cottage situation, a couple of hunters coming back, and so on. And these are a few pictures now from Argos around the world. And the more extreme the conditions, the better our vehicles are, the more they shine. So this is somewhere way up on Hudson Bay, I guess in winter, the way it looks like. This would be in New Zealand. There's sort of a beach, we use it as a beach patrol there. In Sweden, the Argos work very well in snow as well, because we can put tracks around the wheels. So a wheel typically will not work anymore when the snow is deeper than half the diameter of the wheel. Tracks will make the vehicle float up and go over top of the snow. This would be an application typically. There's tracks underneath, you can't see them because the snow is flying around everywhere. Okay, so here's an Argo of tracks, for example. That was an interesting project. There were people establishing a vehicle world altitude record. World record for altitude for vehicle, and they took a couple of Jeeps up in South America, up a volcano to about 21,000 feet. That's pretty high. And the Argo was there to support them. Basically, with the Argos, they dragged the boulders out of the way of the Jeeps, so the Jeeps could go up there. And the Argos went with them. A lot of Argos are being used sort of in search and rescue, law enforcement, etc. This is our big industrial machine, we call it the Centaur. It too is amphibious, and it has sort of a pretty novel, we introduced it about 10 years ago, pretty novel transmission. And again, it can run in tracks, and then it's pretty unstoppable in snow, etc. Just another picture, another example of what they're being used for. There's a stretcher. Search and rescue. That's in Scandinavia. One of our Centaurs helping at a trail derailment, getting this cleaned up. And in South Africa, the South African military bought our machines, quite a number of them. It's an elite unit. It's a para unit. Okay, just a couple of pictures from there. What was important there was that the vehicle, after the mission, could be extracted by helicopters. It had to be light enough. And what I'm always saying, to make the superior off-road vehicle, it's got to be light. It's really important. And our vehicle was the only one that was light enough. They could do the job, could carry enough, but was also light enough. To, in the end, be flown out by helicopter after the mission. Okay. Then we're doing interesting other vehicles. We call them the special projects. And a lot of them are robotic vehicles and remote controlled vehicles. So this is an interesting little machine. Looks like a little tank. It is a little tank. Runs around on tank ranges and pretends to be a big tank, and the real big tanks shoot at it. And this machine will count all the sort of the tank shells flying through an electronic envelope that's about the size of a tank, and will count the hits. Quite interesting. And it's, of course, there's nobody in there because it's way too dangerous. So it's running remote control. And every once in a while it also gets hit, which is nice for us because there's no warranty on hits. So they gotta buy a new one. They phoned us, I think a year ago, so they phoned us and said, oh, we got a damaged vehicle. The transmission burned for 2 hours. Can you repair that? And we said, yeah, the repair is a new vehicle. Okay, so that's something similar. And this was an interesting development. We developed this together with a German company. It's a fully autonomous robot, meaning it can run on its own. It has you program it and it can follow a perimeter. It has a mast it can go up with. It can look around. It has eyes, like all these little dots here are cameras, so you can see all the way around, 360-degree view. And this is a LiDAR, a laser sort of sensor that sort of goes up and down and checks out the road ahead. It can find out if there's any rocks or holes in the way. And as I said, we developed on this machine, we made the drive system. The German company made all the computers that are sort of under the deck there, and then the whole thing was assembled in China and was made there. And we sold quite a number of them, most of them actually in China. China bought about 80% of our production. It's quite interesting. Unfortunately, during the recession in 2008, the German company went out of business, and that was, for the time being, the end of it. But they seem to be reconstituted. Oh, they're getting back into business now, and they may come back. Similar thing, same system that was sold to the firefighters in Shanghai. And this vehicle has a tank in the back and can basically robotically go forward into a fire, fight the fire. But much more important, it can also sense what comes out of the fire in terms of toxic gases and so on, because you never know if there's a fire, what is it, what's really burning, right? And it could really hurt the firefighters, human firefighters, very badly. So they sent this vehicle in first, and the vehicle determines is it even safe for firefighters to go there. Quite interesting development. That brings us to our latest division. We started in 2008. We started to design what we call lunar rovers, little buggies that are supposed to go on the moon. And this was a Canadian government initiative from the Canadian Space Agency. And we designed a number of vehicles. There's a special track system for the moon. There's, we can put these vehicles together, we can tandem, we can make a tandem vehicle out of it. And this is the one that finally carried. It has interesting wheels. Why would it have funny wheels like this? The answer is rubber doesn't work on the moon. Here on Earth, rubber is the best material for a wheel. But on the moon, you have temperatures ranging from minus 280 Fahrenheit, it's really, really cold, to 280 Fahrenheit, which is really, really hot. So when it's really cold, the rubber will just break, and when it's really hot, the rubber will melt. So it doesn't work. Therefore, we need everything on that vehicle needs to be more or less made out of metal or ceramics. There's no other way of doing it. This is a picture of our space division. It's just a few engineers. The gentleman here in the middle is Steve McLean, former astronaut, and also he was at the time the president of the space agency. And if you have read the newspaper, he's actually moving to the Kitchener-Waterloo area now. The space agency is in Montreal to work at the Perimeter Institute. He's He's resigned his position at the space agency and is coming here. All these space vehicles, there's a lot of people building those. They get tested every once a year in Hawaii. So this doesn't really look like what you would think Hawaii would look like, right? And but it is in Hawaii. It's on pretty high up on Mauna Kea, one of the high mountains on the Big Islands. That's here. It's probably the top, and it's 14,000 feet high. The level where we run these machines is about 11,000 feet, and it looks in many ways like the moon. And they take these vehicles there and they say, okay, this is as close as we can get to the moon, so let's try them out here. And we have brought a little video to show what we do there and how the vehicle operates. Joerg, can you start the video? Okay, we're down to 5 minutes. Then we skip the video. Joerg, we'll skip the video. Okay, sorry for being slow. So this is basically ODG and what we do. And there's one problem which I see, which I see and which really concerns me. And that is what I call the skills and education gap. And it ties us back to what I was telling you before. How do we find jobs after we graduate? What I find is there's a lot of young people who cannot find jobs. And then there's a lot of positions at ODG that don't get filled. And why is that? It is because a lot of people get educated in non-technical areas, or they drop math early on, and then we can still use them on the assembly line or so, but if we won't have them run a big machine, a $1 million machine. So that's one of the problems, and that's at your level you have to start thinking about this. Where do you really want to go? And what I also found is, and it's an attitude problem, it's the parents and the teachers, everybody wants to go to university, which is a good thing, it's a good goal. But not everybody is cut out for university, and there's good alternatives. If somebody says, well, I'll go to the college instead of university, or I will start, I'll take an apprenticeship, there's nothing wrong with that. University is expensive, it may land in a lot of debt, and yes, if you're an academic, if you're cut out for this, by all means do that, right? But I see a lot of people who sort of get into university, they sort of start to peter out at their undergrad degree, and then they really don't have all that much. And as a society, our problem is we look at people who didn't make it to university as failures somehow, right? And they are not failures. There's people working on our shop floor that make $80,000 a year, and they're experts in their field, and they never went to university. Hopefully, it helps definitely if people go to college, because there you can get the education, there you can get the apprenticeship. What we will see is a lot of our skilled workers will retire the next year. So this skill shortage will become worse. And what I see is also that, right now manufacturers are having stuff made in China because it's cheaper there. But at some point, China is getting more expensive. They could be forced to still have their stuff made in China because only there are the skilled people, right, and not here. And it has already happened. For example, Apple Computer, at some point employed 700,000 people in China. President Obama asked Steve Jobs, why don't you bring some of these jobs here? Steve Jobs said, well, I can't find the 30,000 engineers here. I need to keep these factories running. So that's why I have it done in China, because there I can find the 30,000 engineers. So that's food for thought. And as I said, the perception is about among educators, parents, and also, of course, the students, is that manufacturing is a thing of the past. It is done, dirty, declining, whatever, right? It's not. It's absolutely not, actually. Manufacturing is anything but. if you look at how wealth is being created, so these three ways to create wealth. You can either dig it up, that's mining, you can grow it, that's farming, or you can make it, that's manufacturing and construction. And all the other industries there are, financial industries, banks, etc., insurance companies, they're only there because they're supporting the original three wealth creators. And if you work for these wealth creators, that's really where you have your safe job. If you look at China, I don't want to elaborate about this. I was in China in '86. It was bicycles and horse carts. I was in China in 2005. It was Audis and BMWs. And I was in China in 2010. It was like being in a sci-fi movie. And it's amazing how far this country has come. But why has it come so far? When I was there in '86, I heard they were graduating every year. They were graduating more engineers than Canada had people. When I heard that, I already knew we were in trouble because I knew they would be catching up real quick with us. And that's what got them there. And it was not selling lattes to each other. So all this talk about the post-industrial society and how this will be all wonderful and be all selling, be all flipping hamburgers to each other and that kind of stuff, it will not work. We have, in order to create wealth, we got to produce something. We got to make something. We can either dig it up, and we live in a fortunate country where there is stuff to dig up, or we can grow it, or we can make it. That's the only way to get ahead. And is manufacturing declining? No, look at this plant. This is a friend of mine, a smart engineer. 15 years ago, for me 15 years is very short. For you it's a long time because that's the better part of your life so far, right? But if you get older, you'll find 15 years is no long. 15 years ago, this guy was working, he's a very smart engineer, aircraft engineer, was working out of his basement as a one-man show. Today, he owns this plant. It's 3 times as big as ODG. And he employs something like 500 people there. Because he had a couple of good ideas and made it work. And so in 15 years, this plant just appeared. You never read about this kind of stuff in the paper. All you ever read in the paper about is when plants shut down, right? So the perception that manufacturing is declining is not really true. The companies are growing up, they're getting bigger, but when a company shuts down, everybody says, oh my God, so many people are out of work. And yeah, it happens too, it's very, very bad. But this industry is like a business, is like a forest. Old trees fall over, new trees grow up in the space they left behind. Okay, I think that concludes it. Sorry if I went over a little bit. And thank you for being so attentive.
Mr. Stieber, on behalf of Junior Achievement and the company program, I'd like to give you this thank you package, and thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, everyone, so thanks a lot for your attention. Now what we're going to do is we're going to break back into our normal company night.